Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. So I feel honored to be giving this closing remark today. As highlighted on the event flyer for this presentation, parental training awareness is crucial in understanding and managing behaviors in neurodivergent children. On behalf of Consilia and Kelechi Njoku Foundation, the organizer of this presentation session, I express my sincere appreciation to the very rich contribution from all participants to this evening's event. One fundamental message from today's discussion is that information on parenting skills requirement is key in the management of behavioral patterns in neurodivergent children. The parents' pivotal role in this respect cannot be overemphasized, as it is the vehicle that will ultimately steer the children during their developmental years to discover themselves in a world that seems out of pattern to them. Research has shown that with the knowledge of required parental skills and painstaking efforts, the results are mostly outstanding. And it is of little wonder that some of the greatest inventors in history were known to be neurodivergent. If we as parents take it upon ourselves to see that the inner strengths of these children, we may be giving the world the next unit. Expand our dreams and aspirations in advancing the cause for creating awareness globally and most importantly locally through parental education, targeting parents and inclusive education in these children's formative years. We have impacted a number of families positively with our meager funds, but plan to do much more. We also plan to collaborate with state parties to progress quality inclusiveness in our nursery, primary and secondary schools. In this light, we welcome donations and sponsorships from well-meaning individuals and organizations towards advancing discourse. I thank everyone for attending this presentation section on the topic of understanding and managing behaviors in neurodivergent children. We give special thanks to our host, Mrs. Consilia Njoku, our presenters, Dr. John Udeze and Ms. Joy Okodute. And finally, to everyone here who has participated in one way or the other to make this webinar a success. Thank you very much, and we hope to have more webinar presentations in the future. Bye-bye for now, and do have a great evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kelechi, for that thoughtful closing remark. All right, thank you all. Thank you so much to everyone for creating time to join us for this event. I especially thank our speakers for coming. I'm very grateful. We hope to have many more of this kind of events in the future. And as Mr. Kelechi has said, we are open to welcoming sponsorships to expand our services. Thank you to all the parents from my group, and thanks to other people who joined us from our social media handles. For more information, you can contact me on my phone number as shown on the screen. You can as well contact me on my social media handles, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. Now we would have to move on to our closing prayer. Thank you all for staying this far. I appreciate you all. I appreciate your presence here today. So we'll be moving to our closing prayer now. BSI, New York, USA. BSI was founded by Dr. John Udeze with a purpose to help individuals make meaningful connections with the world around them and become valuable members of their community. Dr. John is an enthusiastic, optimistic, inspirational, and personable individual. He has over 10 years of experience in applying and overseeing the application of applied behavior analysis, ABA principles, across the fields of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, ASD, obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, intermittent explosive disorder, emotional disturbance, intellectual disability, cerebral palsy, and other developmental disorders, and organizational behavior management, OBM. Set apart by exceptional interpersonal and motivational skills and the natural ability to lead others towards personal and organizational success. Situation. Its true mission is simply to help individuals reach their full potential and become valuable members in their society. He is able to accomplish his mission through the use and application of applied behavior analysis, ABA. Dr. John is also actively involved in research, education, charity, and volunteer work to further help individuals and be an active member of the society. Please let's welcome Dr. John Odazi. He will be speaking on repetitive behaviors and hyperfixation in autistic people.
Good afternoon, my time. Good evening, yours. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the warm introduction. My name is Dr. John Odazi. I have my last degree was in behavioral management, as relates to doctors of behavioral management, clinicalized. I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity that has been granted to me today to share my small impact of society that I have been doing within the continental Africa and the United States. Currently, we have about 18 employees working both in schools in New York and also in homes in New York, ABA, providing ABA services in homes in New York. We build insurance through New York funding, and we also build equipment from New York State. We also set up a company in Nigeria to provide services to individuals and our rates are very competitive compared to what you get within the localized market. So we're here to provide our services at a good cost to members of this forum and the Nigerians at large. With that said, I would advocate the patronage of business, and I will continue to provide information as we go forward. I am a behavior analyst, board certified behavior analyst, and a licensed behavior analyst within the New York State and nationwide. I'm also an international behavior analyst, where I'm actually certified and licensed internationally. We also have a project currently going on in Kenya, which we've already started a few months ago as well. So our goal is to provide services and also to train behavioral technicians. So if you have anyone who would like to be a trained technician, please refer them to us. I'll be able to work with them, making sure that they have the required skills and knowledge necessary. I am licensed to teach behaviorism through the board of the BACB in the United States, so I could deem anyone who's into it certified after going through some 8-week course to get certified and registered to provide behavioral services. I can't do that with my license certifications. So that's something I would like to pass on to the team and yourself, my host, so at least our members here could have the resource available to them when it's needed. Director of Behavior Solutions in New York, the Clinical Director of Behavior Solutions Limited in Nigeria, and also Behavior Solutions Enterprise in Nigeria and Limited in Kenya. Today, I will be speaking on the topic of repetitive behavior and hyperfixation in children, the causes and management of such behaviors. This is an area that comes up often when we work with children, especially those with autism, spectrum disorder, as aligned with ADHD, and other developmental and behavioral challenges. My goal today is to help us understand why this.
Hello, sir. Dr. John, please, do you have a slide to share?
I don't have a slide to share right now.
Okay.
I will be after our meeting. I will be sharing, moving forward with your permission today. I will be sharing information relating to this topic and also the topic as it relates to behaviorism on the forum. That's okay with you and your team.
All right, that's okay, no problem.
Okay. Why these behaviors form and explore practical evidence-based ways to manage such behaviors. So, introduction. Repetitive behaviors and hyperfixations are not bad, right? They happen not out of the blue. They happen for a reason. They have a choice. They are very common in children with neurodevelopmental differences, and they almost always serve as a function. Now, as we go along in our relationship with people, which you've already done so, I will be sharing some slides, some notes, some notation, some information, some handouts or leaflets on the forum occasionally. That talks about functions of behaviors. It talks about each functions of behaviors and what we could do best to either maintain or eliminate or put some behaviors, extinctions, some behaviors out there. Sometimes they help the child regulate emotions. These are functions. We're talking about functions. Other times they provide comfort or they serve as a way of coping with stress. What is important is this. Before we think about managing the behavior, we must first understand the reason behind it, right? So there must be a reason why each behavior is happening. There must be, right? So those are called the functions. There are 4 functions of behavior. There is attention-seeking function, there is the escape function, there's a tangible function, and there's an automatic or sensory function, right? If we can understand why, then we can respond in a way that's supportive and not punitive. Because for every behavior, there is a function. Now, for all of us here, we know that behavior is communication. So once the child is behaving in a manner, you know the child is trying to communicate with you. A lot of times they may have a lack of ability to put sentences together in doing so. So defining key terms. Let's define key terms, right? When I initially contacted our host, she was very kind enough to let us know that these are the issues that parents would like to look into. So Concelia was very, very nice enough to point me in the right direction as to which issues that the team are concerned about. Now, the first one she mentioned was the repetitive behaviors. And the second one she referred to was the hyperfixation issues. So I wanted to see how I can break these behaviors down in definitions, then talk about the causes of each behavior, then talk about what we can do when we are experiencing such behavior, what we can do to mitigate such. So let's define these terms. Repetitive behaviors, also called stereotypical behaviors. These include, like what my fellow guest speaker, presenter, talked about: hand flapping, spinning objects, repetitive words or phrases, or insisting on routine being done in a very specific way. And everything that she talked about repetitive behaviors, I agree with as well. I just want to be on the record saying so. Hyperfixations refers to an intense and prolonged focus on a single activity, object, or subject. For example, a child who knows every detail about dinosaurs or trains, or even spend hours lining up toys in the exact manner, same order, like put them line up, same order, same shape, right? While these things are easy for the child, they can provide predictability, comfort, and even joy. Now, there's times where a lot of us also know this as well. For those who are on the spectrum, they do well with routine based, right? So once the child has a schedule fixed and they're taught a certain routine, most of the time they do not deviate from such routines. Now, what are the causes of repetitive behaviors? There are several reasons why repetitive behaviors develop. Neurological differences. Some brain pathways are more active in kids with autism, bi-related conditions, particularly those that control habits and movements. Sensory regulations. The child might have hand flapping to block out overwhelming sounds, or spinning objects to provide visual stimulation. Now, our presenter, the last one, spoke about, there's this fluorescent light. A lot of this fluorescent light leaves some sounds to it, like a buzzing sound. Now, if you listen very closely, you are going to hear it. But that buzzing sound, mind you, can be and could be very, very distracting for those on the spectrum. Believe you me. We work with them plenty. So what we tend to do a lot of times is use the yellow bulb, not the actual fluorescent sound itself, not the white light. Communication needs. In the absence of words, repetitive behaviors can sometimes become a form of communication. Right? We talked about that. Coping with stress or anxiety. Just as an adult might tap their foot or bite their nails, children often use these behaviors to self-smooth, right? Which is also part of communication, as we discussed. When we see a repetitive behavior, the question is not how can I stop this, but rather what is the behavior doing for the child? Causes of hyperfixation. Hyperfixation, on the other hand, often stems from the brain rewarding system. When a child focuses deeply on a preferred activity, the brain releases dopamine, making it highly rewarding. It can also come from natural curiosity and interest. Many children learn best when they dive deeply into a subject, like highly focused, fixated on, out of curiosity. For some, it provides comfort and predictability in a world that often feels overwhelming. Our speaker talked about where when you provide a direction to a child, in my line of work, we call it latency, okay, waiting to respond. You have to not overload the child with prompts, with sensory stimulation. You have to provide that prompt once, give some time, and let the child respond, and giving the child the ability to process the information. In other case, it serves as an avoidance strategy, way to escape from the task they found challenging, stressful, or uninteresting. So again, hyperfixation is not always negative. The challenge is to make sure it doesn't interfere with daily life, school, and social interaction. Now, I'm going to talk about clinical consideration here as it affects the child and how we should seek intervention. Now, for clinical consideration, it is important not every repetitive behavior or hyperfixation is a problem. For example, if I present to you a 3-year-old who wants to hear the same bedtime story every night, is showing a developmental appropriation for preference, right? We only intervene when these behaviors occur. Now, say for example, now the child wants to hear the bedtime story every night. Now, is that repetitive or hyperfixation? Right? Now, just because the child is diagnosed with autism, would you turn around and say, well, that's a repetitive behavior or hyperfixation? Or as an adult or as a child who grows in a regular developmental bracket, we will call that appropriate preference. Right? So we have to be very mindful where we believe that just the child may not be vocal, right, and they chose to act behavior-wise as to what the preferences are or need is, we deem that as either repetitive behavior or hyperfixation. So we have to be very mindful about that. We only intervene when this behavior occurs. When it prevents the child from learning, interfere with the ability to interact socially, or causes distress in the child or family. So as a clinician, teacher, or parent, our goal should be to distinguish between harmless quirks of behaviors and behaviors that truly limit growth. So if some of the behaviors that you see are not limiting your child's growth, then I don't believe, and or disrupting their social in daily life, I don't believe that's a behavior you need to intervene. Assessment and approach. Now, from an ABA perspective, as a behavior analyst, board certified behavior analyst, and a licensed one for that matter, we always begin with assessment. So, a lot of you know this as a functional behavior assessment. Functional behavior assessment, for example, this is what we do in New York. If we have a child who has one of the issues that that the parent may deem that they have, or the school district, or the school, call us and say, hey, Mr. Udazi, we have John Smith, who has been not paying attention, has been off task for the past 6 months out of the school year. We need to find out exactly what's going on. When I go in, when I send an RBT in the house or in the school, we do what I call an assessment. Okay? In that assessment, which is called a functional behavior assessment, in that assessment, we do 3 things. We look for the antecedent of the behavior, which is the A, the behavior itself, which is the B, and the consequence, which is the C, which is the ABC. Right? We gather data on frequency, duration, and intensity to quantify such behavior, how many times they're working, because we have to be able to get baseline. We also consider contextual factors. Was the child tired, hungry? Are they in a noisy environment? Because that environment is the sample environment for the class. I'll give you an example. If you ask us to come into a house, right, and you behave in a certain way in your household, but you're telling me your son is not adhering to sitting down quietly and reading a book. But I come into your household, and your household is like a Jurassic Park. Now, it could not be fair for me to start fixing your son's behavior or your daughter's behavior because the environment is not conducive to his behavior. Right? So those are things we look at as well. So if the environment is not conducive to his behavior, it should not be fair for me to go ahead and recondition the son to a behavior that you want him to just because you want him to do that. What is the environment saying? And most importantly, in this whole behavioral assessment and its whole intervention, we also have to include caregivers and the teachers as well. Parents, teachers, caregivers, you name it. They provide crucial insight into how the behaviors work in different settings and different environments. Now, I'm going to move into the strategies to work with students or kids or children with repetitive behaviors. When it comes to intervention, we use evidence-based strategies, and I'll give you a few of them here. One is differential reinforcement of other behaviors, DRA, right? We reward behaviors that are more functional or socially appropriate while reducing reinforcement for the repetitive behaviors, right? So there are two behaviors currently taking place, or there are two behaviors on the table. One is the repetitive behavior which we want to reduce, and the other one is the behavior which we want to increase. Say, stop paying attention to whatever he's paying attention to with the repetitive behaviors, right? So what we do is we minimize the attention we give to the repetitive behavior while increasing the reward or reinforcement for the socially functional behavior that we want to see. Now, functional communication training. This is about teaching a child to request for breaks, ask for attention, or seek for sensory tools instead of engaging in repetitive actions. Right? So the same applies here. DRA. We withhold reinforcement on a behavior that they are exhibiting that we don't want to see. And we provide reinforcement for behavior we want to see that they are not exhibiting. Environmental modifications. Now, we talked about this just a few minutes ago. The environment has to be conducive to the behavior we are trying to increase, right? So you cannot increase focus and attention when the environment is not conducive to providing focus and attention. That is not fair to the child as well. So structuring the environment to reduce triggers and increase predictability, right? So we are trying our best to reduce the amount of stimulus in the environment that are contrary to our overall goal. Self-management tools, visual schedules unnecessary, coping cards unnecessary, relaxation strategies to keep the child's independence unnecessary, in making sure that, especially childs who are non-vocal, visual is the way to go, right? Sensory support, collaborating with occupational therapists to provide fidgets, weighted items, sensory breaks that meets the child's needs in a healthier way. Now I'm going to move on up to management strategies as it relates to hyperfixations. Am I doing okay so far?
Yes.
Okay. So management strategies as it relates to hyperfixations. With hyperfixation, the goal is not to eliminate the interest, but to manage and channel it. Right? So we want to harness the energy of the hyperfixation and channel it into something that is more conducive to him or her. Right? Set use schedules and time limits so the child can earn their interest, but not to the exclusion of everything else. Embedded interest into learning. For example, using trains to teach math or dinosaur to encourage reading and comprehension. Like you see a child who likes to play with Thomas the Train, he has 5 Thomas the Train, right? You can use that to do math, right? So you can take out 3 Thomas the Train and have 2 Thomas the Train and tell them how much Thomas the Train is left, right? And ask them how many Thomas the Train you just took out, right? So you can use whatever interest that the child has to teach them what they need to know. Promote flexibility. Gradually expand from their preferred interest into related topics. Right? So as you start off with the interest, we are going to gradually reduce the hyperfixation by gradually changing the narrative and changing the environment to expand the person's interest and related topics. Teaching coping skills. Help them handle transitions while moving away from interest. So, for example, a transition is about to take place in 5 minutes. You know it's about to take place in 5 minutes. What do? Every minute of that 5 minutes, for the first 3 minutes, you remind the child that the transition is about to take place. Every 30 seconds after the first 3 minutes, you remind the child that the transition is about to take place and exactly what the transition to, and have the schedule ready. Train parents and teachers consistently across environments make the strategies much more effective. So when we train parents and caregivers, they are going to run those programs in our absence. Say for example, if we're lucky enough to serve one of you parents in our forum today, right? And you call us into your homes to provide services into your homes, right? So we're going to come and provide services into your homes, but we're going to leave you with a blueprint where you have to implement those programs in our absence. Why? Because once we implement these programs there, and you implement these programs in our absence, because you see the child more than we do, it creates consistency in different settings, in different environments, and different people. So giving the child the expectations of what to expect with different people under the same scenario. It's it matters a lot. So let me give you a case scenario. I'm almost done. I had about 10 minutes or less. So I came up with a case example. I'm going to share a case scenario with you guys. A 7-year-old boy with autism was highly fixated on the vacuum cleaners. He also spawned objects on the table repeatedly, especially during classroom transitions. When we assessed the behavior, we found that fixation occurs most often when he was anxious about change or when he was denied access to vacuums. We introduced functional communication training, teaching him to request extra time or transitional warnings. We talk about every minute for the past 3 minutes, then every 1 minute, maybe half a minute for the last 5 minutes. We use reinforcement to encourage play with a variety of items while still allowing limited scheduled time to talk about vacuums. Over time, we became more flexible and more smoother transitions and was able to engage in class. This shows us that right balance of structured communication and reinforcement can make a real difference. Finally, before closing, key takeaways of my conversation here with you guys. What can we take away from today? Every repetitive behavior or hyperfixation serves a purpose. Not all behaviors leads to their wicked, some are harmless, and can even be punished positively. APA strategies such as reinforcement, functional communication training, structured support and powerful tools are needed in instructing the behavior positively. Collaboration with caregivers, teachers, and other professionals is essential to long-term success. Our goal is not just to reduce behavior, it's to help the child lead a more balanced, functional, and fulfilling life. In closing, I would like to have everyone share their thoughts. If there's any questions that you may have for me, if there's anything that we can support with, I'm on the forum. I'm working with Sophia as well. I think she's on the forum as well. I'm working with her. She's the liaison with Behavior Solutions Enterprise here in New York. She'll be able to answer all your questions as well. But you can reach out to me. I'll put my email address as well there. And you can reach out to me if you have any questions. We can come and serve the child in school, come and serve the child at home. We're open for any communication and relationship that you do have. And thank you for having me here as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. David, for that wonderful presentation. Okay, so please, do we have questions for Dr. David?